Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are good. Guys, today we're going to be reacting to Douglas Murray calmly obliterates angry Muslim professor with facts. Guys, let's get right down to this.
The present situation is that Israel builds bunkers in which its civilians have to shelter from rocket fire from the Hamas. The Hamas builds bunkers and hides its rockets in it, and then puts civilians on top of those bunkers. That is a terrorist organization.
That is an organization that has no respect.
That is an organization that has no respect for human lives, not Palestinian lives and not Israeli lives.
You are about to watch one of the most heated debates on the current Middle Eastern conflict. Douglas Murray is always ready for these kinds of encounters, and in this video, he demonstrates why he is one of the most feared debaters alive today. Douglas Murray did not hold back.
Barack Obama said this. He said if someone was sending rockets into my house, where my two daughters sleep at night, I'm going to do everything in my power to stop that, and I would expect Israelis to do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite true, but the point is we need to understand how the situation has come about. We seem obsessed with the current situation. We need to understand how Israel came into being. You know, we can debate here from now until doomsday about what's happening today, but we need to understand what has created the situation. How many of us know about the Hussein McMahon correspondence? How many of us know about the Sykes-Picot Agreement? How many of us know about the Balfour Declaration? All of them are duplicitous agreements that brought about the state of Israel.
But we are where we are.
Yeah, and to call Hamas a terrorist organization, what is the Stalag, the Irgun, and the Haganah? How many of us know this? You see, we only know one side of the narrative. It's easy for people to say that Hamas is a terrorist organization, yet they were democratically elected. I might not like them. In fact, I don't agree with Hamas a lot of the time. But I cannot say this is terrorist. How come one person's terrorist and another person's freedom fighter?
Andrew Murray.
Douglas Murray is about to offer a much-needed response in a moment. But let's firstly highlight something important from the Muslim professor's argument. The reluctance to acknowledge Hamas as a terrorist organization and attempting to divert the conversation to other groups that are not relevant to the conversation is clearly evident. Hamas has been designated as a terrorist organization by several countries and international entities due to its activities, including suicide bombings, rocket attacks, and other forms of violence targeting civilians. The evidence supporting this categorization is extensive and includes attacks on civilian populations, kidnappings, and the use of human shields, which violate international law and principles of armed conflict.
Well, it's not the case that they're freedom fighters. The first thing that Hamas did when they were allegedly elected was to kill their co-religionists in the Gaza, was to throw people off buildings, to shoot people in the back when they're running away. This is what the Hamas do to their own co-religionists in the Gaza, to other Palestinians. So the first thing is that Hamas not only inflict terror on the people of Israel, they also inflict it on other Palestinians. It's for the Palestinian peoples, as the rabbi said, to try to overthrow this terrorist organization. An organization which fights, if I may just finish.
Terrorist.
Well, an organization which fulfills every...
Come off it.
Well, I don't know what else you call an organization which has killed hundreds of it.
What was the Irgun? What was the Haganah?
Well, the Irgun and the Haganah are not operating at the moment.
No, but what were they?
Well, they were terrorist organizations at the time. But I would say that we're talking about what's happening at the present. And the present situation is that Israel builds bunkers in which its civilians have to shelter from rocket fire from the Hamas. The Hamas builds bunkers and hides its rockets in it, and then puts civilians on top of those bunkers. That is a terrorist organization.
That is an organization that has no respect. David and Goliath struggle.
That is an organization that has no respect for human lives, not Palestinian lives and not Israeli lives.
F-16s?
Douglas Murray is right again on this one. One of the most cited pieces of evidence for Hamas's designation as a terrorist organization is its use of suicide bombers targeting Israeli civilian populations, a tactic that has been condemned internationally. The idea that Israel is like Goliath in the Middle East is also a faulty one that deserves to be highlighted. This analogy is frequently used to evoke a simplistic view of an aggressor versus a victim. However, this portrayal ignores the geopolitical and historical complexities of the region. Israel, a nation-state established in the aftermath of the Holocaust, has found itself in a constant state of existential threat from its inception in 1948. The country is geographically small, surrounded by nations and entities that have, at various times, expressed hostility towards its very existence. Moreover, Israel's military strength, often cited as evidence of its Goliath-like status, is a necessity for survival rather than a tool for aggression. Israel's security measures, including its military capabilities, are as responses to decades of conflict, including multiple wars initiated by coalitions of neighboring states, ongoing terrorism, and rocket attacks. Douglas Murray also highlights a fundamental obstacle to peace in the region, the stated aim within the Hamas Charter for the destruction of Israel. The Charter, which outlines the principles and objectives of Hamas, calls for the establishment of an Islamic State in place of Israel. This explicit goal of eradication presents an insurmountable barrier to any peace negotiations predicated on mutual recognition and coexistence. This point underscores a critical issue. Peace processes are inherently based on the premise that both parties have a genuine interest in achieving peace. When one side's foundational document negates the other's right to exist, the basic premise for negotiation and compromise is undermined. This situation is further complicated by Iran.
When Israel risks, like in 2006, having 1 million of its civilians having to live under threat of rocket fire, this is something which should be beyond its concern about what European governments think or don't think. You mentioned earlier about the huge number of civilian casualties. I can't think of another situation in war in which a fifth of casualties are civilian, and in which the Hamas have suffered up till now perhaps as many as 400 casualties. 400 terrorists being killed seems to me to be good work. It's good work for the future of Israel. It's good work for the future of the region.
Upwards of 75 children have been killed. You can't call them terrorists.
No, I didn't call them terrorists. I said they were innocent civilians. But that 4 times that number of people being killed, the targeted people being killed, are terrorists, and they have been killed. And that can only be good for the region. It can only be good for Israeli security. And if the Arab world really cares about the Palestinian peoples, why doesn't it do something for them practical? Instead of whining about this tiny slither of land which Israel occupies, why don't they realise that if there's going to be peace in the region, it relies on there being a Palestinian solution, and it relies on there being an Israeli solution? That can happen, but the first thing that has to happen is that the Arab governments and the Palestinians realise that Israel isn't going anywhere. If they made that realisation, why would they be firing rockets into Israel proper? This isn't disputed territory. They're firing rockets into Israel.
Douglas Murray's argument regarding the refusal of other Arab nations to absorb Palestinian refugees and the continuous launch of rockets into Israel underscores a broader narrative about the motivations behind the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the role of the wider Arab world in it. Since the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which followed the establishment of the State of Israel, millions of Palestinians have been living as refugees in various Arab countries. Notably, in many of these host countries, Palestinians have been kept in a state of permanent refugee status rather than being integrated into the societies of their host countries. This policy has implications for the Palestinian identity, perpetuating a sense of displacement and grievance that fuels the conflict with Israel. By refusing integration and keeping the refugee issue alive, these countries use the plight of the Palestinians as both a rallying cry against Israel and a means to deflect attention from their own internal challenges. This stance has contributed to the enduring nature of the conflict, as it has prevented the emergence of a Palestinian diaspora that is integrated into the broader Arab world, which could have potentially shifted the dynamics of the conflict. Achieving peace in the Middle East requires a nuanced approach that addresses the legitimate security concerns of Israel, the political and humanitarian needs of the Palestinians, and the destabilizing roles played by external actors. It involves confronting and challenging ideologies that glorify violence and reject coexistence, whether they emanate from within Israel, Palestinian territories, or the broader region.
So guys, I really enjoyed this debate. I've started to enjoy debates on the Hamas, the Israel, the Palestinians, because I feel it broadens my knowledge about these things. And like right now, I actually have been made to believe that the Hamas is a terrorist organization. I mean, with everything they do, it's really clear that they're a terrorist organization. But then, you see, even when the first speaker was, talking about it, it was very obvious that he was just trying to divert the whole topic to, something else, avoiding that talk. And it's really disappointing when it comes down to this. But guys, the more I think about this, I want to know what your views are on this. Don't forget to also like, subscribe to my channel. Love you guys.